Welcome. This is Alex Edwards, the director and writer of Friday the 13th, 9 Lives, aka Friday the 13th Part 9. So I'm going to go ahead and watch this movie with you and hopefully fill you in on any questions you may have had last year when you watched this on Christmas Eve. Okay, this is the opening shot. There's an abandoned canoe with growth all over it. Supposed to be Camp Crystal Lake, of course. And I wanted to start the movie with this big, kind of comical intro of Jason just like walking out of Camp Crystal Lake. Basically giving no timeline of how he got here compared to the last movie or whatnot. And basically we give that answer later on. There's that leaf that came in. That was like perfect. I don't even know how that happened. Some people asked me if that was CGI. So this is Steve Zack playing Jason. Really the perfect person to be playing Jason in this movie. Definitely out of anybody I know. This movie started off as this is supposed to be like the Halloween shot, the beginning of Halloween when they just show the streets. That was my little homage to that. So I wanted this big, like, grand entrance for Jason like this. Everything was beautiful looking. This is the opening shot of Friday the 13th when they first start shooting in Blairstown. I didn't want anybody walking across the bridge this time. I just wanted the bridge alone. And if you look to the right, you could see the girl who plays, herself, Jody, getting up. She was crouching down doing something, and I shot that scene anyway. So this scene is me and Jody walking down the same. These are all identical framing and everything to the original Friday the 13th. That's what the point of this was. And the only reason we filmed this whole movie, is because we were here. Now that white car right there, that's my wife's car. And the fender actually did not survive 2 days after this filming. Somebody went through a stop sign and smashed it. So that fender was immortalized in this movie. And it has since been thrown in a scrapyard. So here we are going under the bridge, and then the big bam, like no one expected to see that coming because you thought you were going to see everything else that Annie did, and we were still going to keep doing that. So this was like that big shock, big ending. We wanted to start the movie off with a couple kills. That bloodstain is still under that tunnel today. It could be seen very faintly, but it's still there in the exact same shape. This is the corner that Crazy Ralph was on when he came out and said, "You're going to Camp Blood, ain't ya?" Right there is where he stopped Enos and Annie from part 1. There's Jason snapping the skull of the girl. And then we accomplished that just by having that mask filled with a sweater, and he just was able to crunch his hands into it. You believing that she's still in it. I don't know if we really accomplished that, if you believe that or not. But so yeah, she was killed on Ralph's corner. So this is obviously an homage to Part 7. This intro was done by a buddy of mine, Joey Duncan. He I did this part, the credits. He did that whole mask and smoke bit part in the beginning. So, the reason this movie was filmed is because it was my 5th anniversary. I was married on Friday the 13th, and we wanted to take pictures, for whatever reason, in Blairstown, and then, post them or whatever. My wife wanted to. And it was around Halloween, and I was with all these people. And I think one of us said, well, why don't you bring a Jason mask, and we could, film Jason. Oh, duh. What am I saying? My wife asked Steve if he could dress up as Jason for those pictures. And he said, sure. So we took pictures of our anniversary, and Jason was standing in the background. And at that time, Steve said, hey, if I'm going to do that, why don't we, shoot some videos of me, killing you guys in Blairstown, like we'll do in the exact same shots. And we'll, it'll be cool because it's in the real location. And we're like, yeah, let's do that. So we brought the masks. That way you could kill us multiple times, and it wouldn't look like the same person dying over and over. And we were just going to post these videos and say Jason sightings in Blairstown and just have him do kills to people. Nothing elaborate. So we brought that thing of blood, and we got him, the mask. I already had that part. It's a mixture of part 3 and 4 mask that he's wearing in this movie. And he bought those clothes to do this. This is the cemetery that I think Enos drops Annie off at or something like that in Friday Part 1. This is one of the first things we filmed. And we did this, which was strange because there was no intention of making a movie at this exact time. And at that time they said, well, let's go to that cemetery and make believe that we're there for somebody that Jason killed or something like that. So we did that. But it made no sense unless we were making a movie out of it. But we figured we'll do it anyway. Then I said, well, I made this movie a long time ago called The Ghost of Michael Myers. It was a 10-minute movie. It's still on YouTube somewhere. I think on this account, if you look through. And I said, well, let's make a 10-minute Jason movie. And that's why we filmed all this stuff, to make a 10-minute movie. And it turned out, obviously, to be an hour. So we're doing all this. And then I eventually, when I decided that we're going to do more and make it a real movie, I had to create reasons why we were there. And then that's how we started writing scenes as we went along. This whole movie was not written in the traditional way. Like this right here, we just wanted to do a scene in Blairstown Diner because that's where Steve Christie was with that waitress, and then he left and went back to Camp Crystal Lake and died. And it was really early. Nobody was there. We got a great shot just now with no cars parked in front of it. This was during, COVID, but we acted like we entered with no masks on. Then we cut the scene. Then, you could take them off when you're sitting down. So that worked out. And we just wanted Jason right there in the window like he is. Behind them, this still was not meant to be a movie. And all the people who worked at Blairstown Diner were really cool. And they said, yeah, you could shoot that. So I just literally, what you saw is what I shot. Like 30 seconds of footage because I knew that's all I needed. So this was a great treat. The woman who plays Vicky in Friday the 13th Part 2, Lauren Marie Taylor, I sent her the footage of the Jason Part 2 stuff that you're going to see later on. And I said, hey, check this out. We're doing a movie. We have Jason Sackhead in it. And she saw it. I think I sent it on her Instagram, and she saw it, and she's like, wow, that is so cool. I would love to be in that movie. And I was like, really? So she doesn't live anywhere near me. And I said, well, you can if you really want to. And she said, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, I mean, this is a zero-budget movie. No money is in this movie. But if you have a phone with a 4K setting on it, I could write you a little scene, and you could just have somebody shoot you doing it, and then just send it to me, and then that's your cameo in the movie. It doesn't have any major consequence. It doesn't matter. What she's saying is not that important. Of course, I had to make her the real Vicky, so I give her an explanation that, when Jason stabbed her, it was sort of ambiguous if she died or not, so I just made it that she didn't die. She survived it. He did walk down the stairs where they were dragging her feet, and we do an homage to that later on, but yeah, you don't really know if she's exactly dead. She could have just been passed out, drug over to wherever Jason brought her, and that's it. They found her, and she had a pulse, and that's it. That's what we kind of did. This shot right here, Steve did not want to do this. He was willing to, which was amazing, but when he was up there, that board was shaking that he was standing on. That's like a deer, what's that called? Stand or whatever. I'm not a hunter, I don't know, but people stand in those things and shoot deer from there, and the deer have no idea they're up there. So this was a great shot. This was in a abandoned camp in the South Jersey. It's totally destroyed, graffiti everywhere. This scene right here that we're shooting right now, this took about 16 takes, and that's not a joke. We had to get everything timed perfectly, the way Jason ran down, how she did this, how she reacted. Just those few seconds took 16 tries. We had to keep resetting the glass in the window so it would fly out when he hit it. Everything just had to be perfect, and we didn't want to half-ass that moment. So, and here's Annie. She is just amazing in this movie. This is the first acting she's ever done, I believe. This was like the first night of shooting when we knew it was going to be a real movie. This is like the first thing we shot because everybody came over and we were all just going to go to sleep and start doing this stuff in the morning. And so this is the first thing we shot right here. Luckily, Steve was there for everything, so we never had anybody fill in as Jason. It was always him. So she's a huge Nightmare on Elm Street fan, so I kind of wanted to incorporate dreams into her stuff, nightmares. So that worked out. She always said that she looks like Robert Englund, like as if he had a daughter. That's what she would look like. So that's pretty cool. So we definitely wanted to do that. Steve and Jody are both dating in real life. And this is my house we're shooting in. This is a guest bedroom, so there's really nothing in it. So that's why it's a little empty. There's my Weekly World News shirt.
After my
so this was a nightmare to shoot. Everything she's saying right now, the overdub, she was saying in real life at that moment, and it was so long we had to keep feeding her her lines because who could memorize all this? We didn't rehearse anything or anything like that. People didn't sit home with their scripts and say it over and over again and learn their character or nothing like that. We didn't. It wasn't like that. This, even when we decided to take this seriously, it still wasn't really that serious.
I couldn't do anything.
This is one of our favorite things we shot. This came out just perfect. We were so happy with the whole sackhead Jason chasing Jody's brother flashback scene. It was cool to have this fire behind us, have everybody sitting around, sort of like, Friday Part 2 with the campfire scene, but not exactly, just vaguely. And just doing this whole flashback, and she's telling us all what the big secret is that my character, Alex, doesn't know, and why Annie's having these nightmares. This was all written, honestly, all made up on the seat of our pants. We had no idea where this movie was going or what was going to be the next thing. We just heard, oh, well, we have woods, so let's do this. Oh, we're going to go to a drive-in theater, so let's do this. We know an abandoned camp, so let's shoot these scenes. This is great. This is this is supposed to be camp humor. Hopefully most people are having a good laugh during most of this movie. It's supposed to be it's not the kind of movie you're supposed to be laughing at, like ha ha ha. It's the kind of movie you should be smirking at and realizing what we're doing. Like him walking around with one arm, you know what I mean? And that's me. I had to play 3 different roles. The guy under the tunnel got his head smashed, my own character, and then this Jody's brother right here. This machete that Steve's wielding, it was actually signed by Steve Dash, believe it or not. But it's the only one we had, so we had him running around with and R.I.P. Steve Dash, of course. So that machete holds more value than you could imagine now that Steve's gone. And he was always my favorite Jason. Part 2 is my favorite movie, so I had to put this in this movie too. But the lighting, look at that blue sky and the trees and the way it's autumn, and it just is amazing. I stole that shot from Rob Zombie's Halloween when the kid was looking up right before little young Michael beat him with that branch. That's where I got the idea of the disoriented thing where you're looking up at the sky and everything's just moving around. That was a cool scene, Jason stabbing into the camera like that, me laying down where I was there. This is obviously a hokey jokey thing where you make believe the knife's in the guy laying down, but it's not anywhere near. It's to the side of me, of course. Look at that tree to the right and the blue sky in the back, and just everything looks beautiful the way it was framed. Really great job. Jody actually shot these scenes. That was a cut in. Obviously, when he pulls the blade out, there's no blood on it. We didn't take it that seriously to even put that many details into it. Then when I realized that's weird to have no blood, we eventually shot the scene of the blood on the knife about 2 months later. Luckily, the lighting was almost exactly the same, so you can't even tell.
I just didn't know how to tell you.
So, she breaks the news to me that my best friend was killed by Jason and not a motorcycle accident. So this is my big acting scene right here, where I act upset.
Keeping the secret from me for 5 years.
That and I had to put motorcycles in this. We basically anything I had, I wanted to incorporate in the movie, just load it up with anything that was around. So this is my wife Tiffany, playing Tiffany. We're not a couple in this movie. I didn't want to bog down the movie with all these couples and make it about that. It was just more just getting the Jason stuff in there and having enough people to make it believable and not feel like an empty movie. So, yeah. This was shot a few times. At the moment I shot that exact scene, actually nobody was in the room. It was just me and Tiffany. And then the next cut is everybody back there and doing everything. So, because the first take I did, one of my gags were to have a new shirt on every time you see me. So if you notice, you'll see like my shirts change throughout the movie when they really shouldn't. And that was just to see if anybody was paying attention. It was just a gag. Again, this was not a serious movie. This whole movie was shot on a cell phone. Not even a good cell phone. Not the kind that have like 3 or 4 or 5 cameras on them. A 1-camera 2020 SE iPhone is what it's called. And it had a 4K setting. That's all I really needed. And we had a little thing we plugged into the bottom of it to use as a microphone and not use the actual phone's microphone. But even that mic wasn't that amazing or anything like that. And the only money put into this movie was me buying a MacBook Pro and being able to edit the movie. That's it. That's really the budget. Maybe the budget you could say is the blood was $6 or whatever. Steve's clothes were like $25, I guess. Most other things we already had. So no money was really put into this. Maybe the eyeballs that popped out of Annie's head. But I think I already bought those for something else.
Steve, not gonna bet
If you paid attention, you could just see Jason Part 2 standing in that room looking out the window as the camera pans across. Most people don't even notice that. And he shows up again later on at the Halloween party, and nobody noticed that either. So this is our, expedition scene where we talk up some explanations. It was, of course, Halloween, as you could see. So my man cave is fully decorated for Halloween. Of course, we did the classic thing you don't do, which is watch a better movie than your movie while you're making your movie, and you don't want to remind people of movies that are better than yours while they're watching yours. So we thought that'd be funny to go ahead and just do the best one, right? And this is all ad lib where we make fun of Michael driving a car because that was a scene that happened to be on. You can see a bunch of Halloween 3 stuff. You can see a Jason poster under that vent to the left.
It's just like
there I am wearing another shirt, Sammy Kerr from Trick or Treats, the 80s rock horror movie. So Jody shot all of this stuff. Tiffany and Annie were upstairs sleeping, I think. And we just wanted to get these scenes in where we kind of explain a little bit here. We can't just have all action. There you see a scream face behind us.
I don't know. I just find this.
Things like that. That witch in the corner is awesome.
Dude, hard to swallow. It's like everything that's happened.
The Chucky doll on the couch. You can see the Trick or Treat soundtrack right there, right there to the right now of the screen. Just sitting on all the records.
Why Jason?
We shot this scene. I basically cut out like 3 minutes of it. It was kind of unnecessary. We just wanted to have something going and establish somewhat of a story. Like, you heard the news, you saw. Now we're acting like we saw in the newspaper that Jason did those 2 kills under the tunnel, and now we're all hearing about this, and that's why Annie's having these dreams again, because she heard the news and she knows that Jason killed her uncle. So that's why she's having these reoccurring nightmares, and that's why everyone's freaking out, because we know Jason's back and he's the one who did that. And now it's an issue again. But we have other things we have to do. We have a Halloween party that's coming up. We have to go to the drive-in movie theater to watch Creepshow. But, amongst all that, we are... and the movie Halloween playing in the background, we never turned it off during any of this. So if you want to see how long all this took to film, you could just time it from when Loomis walked down the thing with Dr. Wynn to when the dog is barking at Annie. And that's how long it took us to shoot all this. So we just left it in real time. We thought that would be funny, too, that every time like the scene cuts, it's like a whole nother part of the movie. We thought that would be funny. These are some really nice shots. I really wanted to do a lot of establishing, because one of the greatest things about Friday the 13th is the look of it and the beauty of a lot of those captured moments, like looking at the lake and the wind blowing and looking at, sunsets and things like that. And I wanted to put that in this movie, too.
What are you doing?
So here I am on my 2010 Harley Davidson Fat Boy.
Crystal Lake with
You can see some pictures on the wall. Jennifer Lopez on a motorcycle. Had to have that in there. So that's me explaining that I'm going to Camp Crystal Lake. They convinced me early that morning over breakfast to just come on, let's just go to Camp Crystal Lake and see if Jason's really back. So we're going to go ahead and go to Camp Crystal Lake, and I'm laughing about it basically because it just all sounds ridiculous, and I can't believe these guys are taking it that seriously. And you can see in the reflection of the pictures a kid bouncing a basketball. But we had to shoot the scene at that moment. There was no way around it. We had to get this done that day for whatever reason. Looking back, we probably didn't, but at the time we did because we were going to go shoot the other scenes or whatever. So that's why we thought it would be cool to have some real life stuff going on anyway. So we said, you know what, leave the kids playing basketball in the back. Hopefully people can hear what we're saying anyway, and it'll add some more realism to the movie. So this is me just driving down my street that I drive up and down every single day on the way to my house. Right now we're driving away from my house, so it's actually true to life. We just wanted a lot of nice fall shots here. Things like that. Everything looked really nice. It's more dead. That's one thing you'll notice too. The trees are, if they're more alive or dead, that's depending on if we shot this mostly in October or if a lot of the shots were in December by the time. One of the things I forgot to mention, when you looked at Jason in Blairstown, when he was at the Blairstown diner looking in the window, if you pay attention, you'll see that when he's walking up to the diner, if you look at the diner window, there's Christmas decorations in it. Then when he looks in the diner, there's Halloween stuff, because that's when we were all in there shooting the Halloween stuff. Then as he walks away and walks towards the parking lot, you'll notice all the trees are dead because that was shot in December. And I actually needed that fill-in shot of him walking to the diner and away from the diner, and I didn't have it. So I had to drive 45 minutes to Blairstown Diner to shoot those 17 seconds of footage and then drive 45 minutes back to my house. So those 17 seconds of this movie took an hour and a half to produce. This was a great shot. I was actually working. I was about 40 feet in the air, and because I'm a lineman for the power company, and I was in a bucket, and I saw the leaves blowing like that, and it was really cool, high winds and going crazy. So I said, wow, this would be cool for the movie. So I just got my phone out and started taping that shot right there. So I'm glad I did that. It was a great insert. So this is literally like 30 seconds from my house. If I rounded the corner, I'd end up right there. And it's the entrance that Jason walked out in the beginning of the movie. This was in a complete different place. This was about 25 minutes from my house. I did this alone one day. I found this while I was working, this lake here, and I said, man, this looks more like Crystal Lake than the lake I live near. So let's use that. And it looks more like Crystal Lake than the body of water that's in this actual camp. This is just a foam tombstone. But the way we shot it, I wanted to play a trick of the mind, and you wouldn't know how big it really is. I think Steve shot that scene. Right now, Tiffany's filming this scene. She's not with us at the moment in this part of the movie. We shot that about 4 or 5 times because either she said, well, I couldn't hear you, or you're walking while you're talking and the leaf crunching is too loud. This sign, I bought that in like Spirit Halloween a couple years ago. Perfect for the movie. Just drop it in. There you go.
Would the cops shut all this down?
Cops aren't going to come back here.
So we're walking through Camp Crystal Lake, which is just that same abandoned camp you saw earlier in the movie where Jason was on that deer stand. So that's the body of water right in front of us, back behind us, I guess. And that does not look like a real Camp Crystal Lake. That's why I had those insert shots that I used, because they were a lot better.
If you listen to the old timers in town, they'll tell you about a boy beast running around, living inside these abandoned cabins.
Great acting.
Found his mother's head.
None of us are actual actors. No one had any formal training. This is just friends making a little movie, just like the old days when you did it with VHS cameras. And, just having fun. Cell phone, friends, passion. That's all it takes sometimes. So as you can see, that is not a great lake. But it looks beautiful. Like, it still looks cool. The trees and all that stuff, and the lighting and everything. So I inserted this. I wish I chose a better day to do it that matched this more. But it was very far. So this is an amazing shot right here. Tiffany set this shot up. It looks like something out of like Stand By Me or something. The way you can see the weeds in front of the camera, and then we're behind, and the way we're standing, you know, offset a little bit so you could see all of us. And we all deliver our lines. Just great colors, nice sky color. Everyone's clothes look pretty good. You know, everything looks nice here. But of course, now as we're cutting here, I got to hurry up and, slam cut this into there. And then I guess you're supposed to believe we're on the other side of that lake or something. I don't know. I don't know what the point was, but I guess it was like Jason looking at us from a distance, I believe. And that was very reminiscent of what Mrs. Voorhees did in Friday Part 1. So this is us walking into an abandoned cabin. We don't see that shrine is there yet. We're just looking around, and bam, now I notice it. Steve notices it. So those arms and foot that's on there, that was bought at a horror convention. The sweater, eBay. Pants, eBay, probably. And that head was sculpted by Renee Brugman, I think her name is, or if that's how you pronounce it. All the credits are at the end of the movie. This was sculpted from the original Part 2 head. So the head that's on the actual shrine in Friday the 13th Part 2, 1981, this is a direct sculpture of that. They may have made a mold of it or whatever, I don't know, but this is as accurate as you'll ever get. Hair not included. I don't know if the hair, I never really put much thought into it, but the hair is probably different. But as far as the actual head goes, it is identical to the real movie.
What if he's here now?
Again, we had no lines here. It was just, well, what do we say? Well, let's just say this. Let's just say that. Well, let's keep the scene moving. We're not going to hang out here forever, so let's just act like we got to get out of here because now this is getting too serious. And look how messed up everything is here. I mean, these kids just come in here and destroy this place, this abandoned camp. And it's a great set. So right here, this took a lot to accomplish. So this camera's just sitting here, right? So it has to stay exactly as it was, and I kept it rolling the whole time. Steve had to hurry up, get out of his clothes, get into his Jason outfit, then walk around the building, then come in there like that without the camera moving a micron. So it looks like we walked out and Jason walked in. And that was accomplished. And I used the Part 3 music in that scene because I wanted it to be very eerie. And then this was basically an homage to just staring at the mom's head. That's like the end of Friday Part 2, how the camera just stays on that head. And then I just decided to pull away from it, show one more shot of the lake to establish where we are, where we were, and now we're gone. And now I'm back in my spot. I parked my bike. And now Steve walks in and he wants to discuss what we just witnessed over there. Earlier, you noticed that me and Steve did this handshake right here we're doing. It's called the Finsky. And if you think that's stupid or don't know what it is, that's from the movie Weird Science. Robert Russler and Robert Downey Jr. do that Finsky handshake thing. And that's one of our favorite movies, both of us. So we wanted to incorporate something that just made it seem like these two are friends. They didn't just meet each other today on the set of this movie and just shot scenes together. Like, we wanted it to look like they have a history together, which me and Steve do. And we wanted that to come across, so we wanted to do something that made it feel lived in. And there you go. I got my Alice Cooper shirt on, my pentagram chain. This was shot, I guess a few takes, few different ways we did this. This was my most proud moment because this I'm doing right here, and the first thing I did, the first little monologue I did, I memorized every single word of that script, which was not easy. That I did actually have to do about 10 times to get every single word right, but I landed every single one, and that was my big accomplishment in this movie. Which is probably just a normal thing for everyone else to do. But for me, it was a big deal. You can see Abbott and Costello pictures in the back. Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Abbott Costello meet Frankenstein. There's an Indians flag you'll never see again, I guess. Because Chief Wahoo is out of commission. So you'll never see another one of those sold in a store. So it's
Dude,
It's in this movie forever, though.
Whether they do or not, won't make
A lot of people will see that and smirk. Indians actually is my favorite baseball
I
team.
know.
And the Chicago Bears is my favorite football team, and you'll see a lot of that, or you already have seen a lot of it in the man cave. So this is just a transition shot. This is the lake. This is right by my house, right down the street from my house. I live like basically on a lake, and it was not used in our movie, believe it or not, except for these little moments. As you can see, the trees are all dead. The trees are dead here. I try to keep the camera low, but it's December already at this point because now we're far into this movie, filming-wise. So basically what I'm trying to do here is just one of those calm moments in a movie where, not everything has to be crazy every minute. There has to be some just like, we just went to the camp, just saw Jason, just saw the mom's head, did those long rides, had some, dialogue in there. So basically I wanted to just calm things down. There's a great shot. Tiffany was filming this from behind that tree that's in our backyard. So basically I'm smoking a cigar and I'm drinking because I'm getting all like, a lot of anxiety going on, a lot of stuff going on here. Annie with the nightmares, this and that. Jason's real. So basically what you're supposed to think is that I passed out on that chair just now and I'm having this dream. So basically the paranoia is going through everybody now. It's not just Annie having nightmares about herself at the camp. Now even I'm having nightmares about Annie in the camp. And we wanted to make it sort of mirror the first dream. So that's like Jason on that deer stand before. And then she doesn't see him. And then just like last time she didn't see him. And then when she did see him on the deer thing, the music cued. So Annie did great and all this stuff. She was a natural. We shot this about like 6 or 7 times, this moment right here. Obviously, and even here, it's not perfect because you can see the neck piece of Jason popped out. Now we tucked it back in for this moment. That took a lot. You wouldn't believe, like, simple things like that, how something might not look right or someone didn't move right or, the mask neck was sticking out. All that kind of stuff. So I pulled these chairs out. We already have those long gone in the shed by the time December comes around, so I had to pull those out, throw some. We did the classic Halloween thing too. Had a bag of leaves that we used throughout the whole movie, and just kept scattering them around every time we shot a scene that needed to look like fall. So this is the drive-in movie theater. The name's escaping me right now, but it's in the credits. Porta potties. You always have to have porta potties in your Friday the 13th movies. Ever since part 5, right?
Looks like we've got about a half hour to go.
And in this movie, you never know whose truck this actually is. I mean, Steve's driving it, I'm driving it. You just never know who owns this thing. You got my Bigfoot air freshener in there. So Steve is sleeping in this scene, as you can see in the front passenger seat, and he was actually sleeping in real life. That was not for the movie. We were very tired. We did a lot. We were very tired at this point. And the line she gives right there, no drugs, no drinking, no kidding. That was from Halloween H2O. I wanted to put that in there. So you saw Steve again sleeping on that. He was just really tired. We were all very tired. And we were waiting for this movie to start. We already walked around here looking at all the little shops. So remember that big star right there, because you'll see that later on all lit up. So, basically we cut right to this. Now it's nighttime. Annie already asked about watching the movie with her friends. So now she's putzing around, getting popcorn, whatever. Cool posters in here in this drive-in, so that was awesome. That worked out. Of course, the big bummer is her wearing a mask in this moment. So, when we watch this movie, when we're all 50, 60 years old, we'll have to think about this stuff again. But it is what it is. At the time, it wasn't optional. This was, you gotta remember, it was late October of 2020. So we were all in the heightened moment. So this is Jason's point of view. So that's Tom Savini right there. And then this is Sandy Johnson, who was Judith Myers in Halloween. So we have the guy who did the effects of Friday Part 1 and 4 in our Friday the 13th movie, which takes place on Halloween, and we have Judith Myers in our movie. couldn't have worked out any better. Really lucky. Really lucky. And I wanted to make these shots right here. These are Annie's point of views. I wanted to give you that cool, like, 80s drive-in movie theater feeling. So this is Jason's point of view. I had to hold the camera up much higher than I am because I'm only 5'9". So I held the camera up above my head. So it looks like the height of Jason. So we had her come out with no mask on to make it appear, to just so you forget about it, really. So she hurried up and took it off right before she walked out of the door. This was a hard shot to get done because everybody kept bothering us and being near that door. We had to wait for people to leave. So the little story behind this, the reason why we're shooting Jason this way is because that day, Steve actually forgot to bring his shirt, undershirt, pants, and boots to the drive-in. All we had was the rubber mask and the Jason mask. So we said, well, we'll make this work. We'll figure out how to do this then. So basically, all the shots with the drive-in in the theater and all that type of stuff with Jason were done like this. There you go. It's very there. You see his red shirt. You saw him lean just a little bit. You could see his red collar for a split second. So I figured, well, it kind of reminds me of Jason Takes Manhattan right now when he's looking at the hockey poster. So I said, this works. And I love that scene of Creepshow, so that's awesome. We threw in a lot of full moons in there. To accomplish this, my phone surely couldn't capture the moon like that. I just looked for a 4K videotape of the moon on YouTube and popped that in there. So, although you think that those are all headlights and this is the drive-in theater and Jason's killing her, in that drive-in theater, no, this is just in the middle of the woods, filmed about a month and a half later. So the reason I wanted to pop her eyes out, like right there, and that scene, that moment, that was about 12 to 15 takes. Every time Steve held her up, I myself dropped the eyeballs on the ground, and they kept rolling out of frame all the time. They would not stay where I dropped them, and even now they didn't. But one of them did. So I said, you know what? Screw it. They'll see the one drop and roll away, but they'll see the other one. They'll know that they're eyes. They'll figure it out. I'll put that crunching sound and all that. And so we went with one that still wasn't even perfect because it was just took too long. It was freezing out that night, and it was a late night. I think we shot this the same day we shot the camp stuff. So this was shot when we were in the camp, and she did all those running around in the camp scenes. So I wanted to take her eyes out because she was like, I see Jason. So, like, I see him, and then, he rips her eyes out because she sees him. So that can't happen. So here we are watching Creepshow. We got lucky, actually. We didn't really plan on having a cool scene pop up while we were doing our little things. It just happened to be around that time.
We have to wait for Ted Danson to talk underwater.
And as they're talking, you can see this guy in a chicken suit dancing
Guys,
in a minute, I think,
Halloween
unless I missed it already. This scene of me in the back seat was actually shot 2 months after the stuff of them in the front seat.
Sounds good.
I'm actually parked where Jason walked out in the beginning of the movie earlier on. I'm parked right in that spot, and we did that scene there. So I could have woods in the background or whatever, but you don't even see the background, so that was a waste of time. I could have done that in my driveway.
Still can't believe we're here.
So here they are talking. Okay, so look at this guy in this chicken suit. See him right there in the by that white door? The guy in a chicken costume.
Steve, I'm serious. What if
He eventually starts dancing. The girl who played the final girl in the movie noticed that one day. We didn't notice it while we were filming.
he's not normal?
So they're talking about, I can't believe we're out enjoying a drive-in movie while, after what we saw on the news. And he's like, hey, listen, maybe Alex is right. Because remember, here's the chicken guy dancing, right? See him right there? He's doing a little jump, and now he's going to start twirling around. There you go. Basically, you remember, Steve said, we had to add some plot to this movie, so basically Steve is going to lie to Jody and Annie and say, no, that can't really be Jason, blah, 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 because they're in too much of a state of paranoia and heightened craziness, so he wanted to calm that down. So then we cut to the Halloween party that we mentioned earlier on in the movie. This scene right now, it's raining. You can see a piece of cardboard above on the top of the screen. That's me blocking rain from going into the camera. But I didn't want to zoom in and cut that out because it would have been too close to them dancing in the window, and it would have looked weird to me. And as you can see in the background, when Alyssa shows up, it's already December, guys. There's Christmas decorations on that guy's house behind us. There I am cropping real low so that you don't see anything besides that car. Because I'm trying to get rid of as many Christmas decorations as I can. And even our door right there, you can see the greenery on the door. It's framing our door. Because that's Christmas. But we had to transform the whole house to Halloween again when we shot scenes up there. And we'll get more into that. This is, I think we copied, Jason Part 2. When you could see his shadow against the Packanack Lodge. That's what that was.
Yeah, just show.
So this is, there we brought the skeleton back to make it look like Halloween again. That red lighting.
Classic.
Which we love in this movie. A lot of the lighting really worked out. Now this was shot the first or second day. This stuff right here. This was in October. This is our actual real Halloween party. We told everybody, would you mind getting killed in our movie? We're doing a Halloween movie. That's Jerry right there, and Steve. Jerry was in the earlier scene at the graveyard, and then he just disappeared. He's like Ted in Friday Part 2. He just disappears. So that's me in an Alice Cooper mask. I don't know what my wife's supposed to be in this movie. There's Alyssa. She's a cat. Look at Jason Part 2 looking out the window. Hopefully you'll see it again. There's Melissa in the movie, and there's Joe. Alyssa and Joe, the two dancing, they actually just got engaged on October 9th, I believe. So they're going to get married. So we're dancing. There's me attempting to do the Jimbo Dance from Friday Part 4. No one knew I was doing that, and I don't think those two girls even knew what it was. Jody probably knew what it was, but I'm not sure Tiffany knew what it was. But it was a horrible impression anyway. I just didn't know what I was doing. I'm very awkward when I'm dancing. I don't know how to dance, and I just hated it. I hated every minute of it. So I just did anything, and I just thought of the Jimbo thing, so I don't have to actually attempt to do a real dance. There's a nice booby shot, pulling out and doing this. This scene took about three or four takes. So they're basically talking about how Melissa, this is kind of an homage to Friday 7 when the girls like touch up work my ass. So she said she's doing touch up work because Dan's coming over and she wants to impress him. So this is all we shot of this girl. She said, well, let me do makeup and Jason could kill me while I'm doing makeup. And then we later on wrote that scene after that. So this was shot on October 28th and the girls talking was shot in like December 5th. There's a rubber knife, and if you notice, Jason rams it in through the right side of her head. But as she's on the floor, you could see that it went in through the left side of her head. That was like a little trick of the eye. We wanted to like mess with people because you're looking in the mirror, her face in the mirror. So when you see it that way, then when you see the other way and you see the close-up and her falling, it keeps going back and forth, and I was hoping somebody would notice that. He's supposed to be smashing her head on that little pole on the banister. Really smashing it on nothing.
You guys are cut off.
So we wanted to do a scene like this to keep the humor going. You know, Jason is there, right there, standing. How do you miss a 6'4" guy standing there? But none of us noticed him, and no one noticed him when he smashed this girl's head on a banister, and she goes flying down a flight of stairs. And Jody really did that stunt. She was willing to fly down those stairs. She did it like twice, I think. Because I forgot to turn the camera on the first time. Oh no, she did it without... I know what it was. She did it when we weren't even filming anything. We just filmed him hitting her head from the view you saw it. Then she fell down the stairs like that, and we're like, what? Wait a minute. We weren't even filming you doing that. So we had to ask her to do it again, because we were like, well, if you're willing to do that, yeah, sure, go ahead. So that was awesome. That really added to the movie. This is Joe's kill. There's a point of view from inside the house, back outside that. That was my wife's idea, because they were all watching us do this. All those people at the party were watching us film this, and she said, hey, this looks really cool from where I'm standing. Why don't you do a little shot from here, too? So we, popped it in. This was, again, when the movie was a joke, and then you'll really get that idea in a second. So, obviously, there's no real attempt to make it look like there's his open throat or anything. I didn't make it any darker or anything like that, because I didn't care. It was a joke, really. So we used a dummy here. Look at this. You flop his first half over, then Jason lifts his legs and he plops to the ground. And there's another take where Jason throws him like 20 feet out further. And that was supposed to be for humor. I thought it would be hilarious to have a dummy, an obvious dummy, flopped over and thrown off the deck like that. This is my little arcade I got. You saw a Psycho 3 poster in the background. That's like my, probably my second favorite movie of all time, horror movie of all time. So I wanted to incorporate that, so I took that poster from my garage, put it behind the arcade for this moment. 22. I kept the score 22 there because Norman was locked up for 22 years. And I'd mentioned Lon Chaney Jr. because I'm playing as the Wolfman in this game, and that's my favorite classic horror monster of all time, so I had to mention his name. So I did a couple name drops in this one scene here.
Hey, there you are. What happened? You never showed.
This is probably Tiffany's best acting in this movie. She delivers all this great.
Jody, I can't find her either.
I thought I had a pretty good handle on the acting until I saw my lines next to hers. And as she's doing some of her best stuff, I'm doing pretty mediocre acting right here. But it got the scene across. And I think at this point, people were used to the bad acting.
Calm down. And you
There's my 80s rocker vest. Of course, I'm wearing another shirt.
Let's do that.
Once again. This is an homage to Dylan McKay getting drunk and wasted. He did that in one episode, and I kind of did something similar to that and delivered a line that he delivered.
This could be my lucky night.
So you're supposed to think I'm drunk, and I'm not really sure where that went. So here's Alyssa. She's saying she had a fight with Joe. He went outside. When he went to the deck earlier, it's because he was blowing off steam from the fight they had. But she doesn't even know he got killed and thrown over the deck. So she just thought he is out there and moping around, and she's going to go lay down. She's tired. This is my least favorite insert. I think it was a better thing. I zoomed in on it. It was just a horrible insert. I wanted the lake at nighttime. And, of course, with these phones, you don't get good shots of anything at night. And that just looked like crap. That was probably the worst few seconds of this movie aesthetically. So apparently I just keep putting that Alice Cooper mask on, and every time I enter a room, I take it off again. I apparently can't be seen transitioning from one room to another without that mask. So this is one thing that is not in my house. This was actually shot in my parents' house. They have a pool table. But in this movie, God, it looks like my house has like everything in the world, you know? There's just so much stuff to do there.
Solids or stripes? Name your pick.
So this scene was shot basically just to set up Tiffany's kill. The original kill was Jason was going to ram a pool cue through her head, and we actually did film that to some degree. I think it was one of those things where we just had her laying on the table and somebody was going to walk in and see it, because I don't have the budget to really do it. So I'm going to go to the bathroom, so put my mask back on, snake and all, then take it off again to go to the bathroom. Of course, this was shot a month after that pool scene. I got my J-Lo shirt on, my probably sixth shirt of the day, my Alice Cooper patch you can see on my vest right there. Make sure all that's in there. So now this was shot back at our house again. You're supposed to think the pool table's right there, but it's not. You should think it's to the right of Jason right now. That shot was ambitious, that from the ground up of Jason. This here should be identical to Jason killing Vicky in Friday Part 2. We had to do that literally like about 11 times to get the framing right. Tiffany's like, oh my God, how many times do I have to keep squealing as you walk over to me? We just couldn't get the framing right. The way I had to stand over Steve's shoulder, he had to lean his head so far over to the right so you see his shoulder but not his head, and you see the hand, you can see her, and he's not blocking her. It was a whole thing. Of course, I set my shirt up like that so you could see how hot J-Lo really is while I'm taking a number 2. And, of course, just like every other Friday the 13th movie, I do not wipe. That was deliberate. I just pull my pants back up without wiping. I didn't want to go as far as the sound effects of the crap hitting the water. They do that in part 3, but I just didn't think it was necessary. Here's my big moment. Get stabbed in the stomach. Pulls the blade out. I got thrown over the couch. This was shot simultaneously from those 2 different angles. So we just flip back and forth to both of them. Slow-mo'd one of them, you know. Of course, that table was moved over so I have somewhere to land, which nobody seems to notice or care about. Now the screen door is magically open so you can pull me right out without having to open it. Pretty convenient, right? Even though it was closed. And it's closed again right now. So, that's just movie magic, guys. Bam, bam. Believe it or not, we did this in one take. And if you look closely, you'll see Jason's mask comes off when he does that. If you want to rewind it and watch it again, his mask lifts up and you can see his chin and mouth. But, again, we didn't think anybody would notice, so we just kept it rolling. And I didn't want to do that take again. I was very close to that piece of wood when he did that. I almost really hit it. So we looked at the tape. We said, this looks fine. Let's move on to the next scene. And this scene right here, this is my homage to the Crow movie with Brandon Lee, where he's like, it can't be you, man. You're not real. You're dead, man. You can't come back. There was no coming back. And all that stuff, that's from that dude before he sends his car off the dock and it explodes. T-Bird or whatever his name is. So that's my big dramatic acting moment there. Of course, I just will not die. A lot of me being in this movie for a good chunk of it is because being the director and writer and not being able to get everyone over the house over and over again. Like, just for this scene right here, Steve is supposed to discover Jodie's body, but we forgot to do that. We forgot to shoot him discovering her. We were going to do that 2 months later. We're just going to have her lay there again in her same outfit and have him discover her. But instead, we make believe he discovers her ring down there and sees the blood and puts it together that she was killed. How he would know that, I have no idea, because nobody else knows anyone else died in this movie. But that ring was actually my wife's ring. We shot that completely alone and just had Steve send us that audio that you hear right now while I'm pulling away from the house. He sent that to me. He recorded that in his garage. So a lot of this, and that's me making believe I'm Steve right now, walking out of the house and coming over to see me. So essentially, I'm walking over to go see me. And a lot of me was put into this movie because I had to fill out scenes. I had to piece things together. And since these people live 2 hours away, I couldn't just keep asking them to come over and do these things. We met up about 4 or 5 times to shoot this whole thing. So I had to fill, and look, there's blood now on the stump, and there was none when it actually happened. And then as we decided to do this scene, we said, well, let's put some blood on the stump. I mean, Jesus. The guy got his head smashed on there. He's all bloodied up. And I think I had to reapply all my blood, too. So if you see, that blood on my head now does not match what it did before. Because I think as soon as I was done with my big, you can't be real scene, I think I washed it off right away.
I'll be all right, man. I'll be all right.
And this is really awesome. So
You gotta go.
that's Steve, of course. Now, the point of this was to be
I'll be all right, man. Just
emotional. This Finsky, this one last Finsky, because that's now you really lost one of your best friends, and you'll never do that with him again. So we wanted to bring the weight of a death to reality here. So what I was going to say was really cool is that's Steve there, right? So Steve is looking at Steve walk out of the shed. So obviously, we have one guy playing Jason and himself. So this was tricky. You just had to remember everything you're doing, and you had to, in your mind, piece it together. And, you couldn't keep asking him to get in and out of his clothes and into Jason clothes. So you had to do it all at once, then you had to do all the rest of it at once. And then you just had to imagine how you could piece it all together. And that's basically all we did. That's his Kane Hodder homage, I believe, where he did that little movement with his head. He did that also when Annie was looking at him when he was on top of that roof. If you look close, you'll see him do a little head tilt there, too. That was a cool little tree right there he went into. That's the back of my doctor's office. There's, woods there. And that tree was lit up because of the lights in the parking lot. And we just thought it looked really cool. And Steve actually had to clear a lot of the stuff on the ground for like 20 minutes because he thought he would break his legs if he had to run in there like he did. And there was so much stuff there, we had to clear it out for a pretty long time. So this is just us. I like how that's lit up in the back, that orangey light in the back of the woods. It looks like fire. It's actually just parking lights in some other parking lot. This is cool right here. This is like part 2. I wanted to do those 2 moon shots, and the music cue is exactly the same as part 2 when Annie, what's her name? When Ginny is running away from Jason. They cut to the moon twice to show a passage of time. So Steve threw an axe at Steve. So it's lodged in his chest, you're supposed to believe. That's the best thing we could do. The best thing we could do is, how are you going to kill yourself? Well, it's got to be from a distance. You know, a lot of this movie was made just because circumstance. Well, what do we have to do? What has to be accomplished? How can we do it? That's why it was what it is. There's not much thought into it besides those things. This was not a heavily thought out movie at all. A lot of people, there's some criticism about that tattoo on Steve's hand because you later on see it on Jason's hand. But again, this is not a serious movie. It's people with a cell phone. I appreciate that somebody would criticize it like that because it's as if we tried to make it like a legit thing. And they're ripping it apart. If they only knew how not legit it was. But I'm glad you think it was. Thank you. I think it turned out pretty cool, too. So this is Alyssa's big moment. You were supposed to see Steve laying on the ground, and then you saw it was going to fade to her laying on the bed. So one goes down, another one comes up. That's what that was supposed to be. And you're hearing Knights of White Satin playing right now, and that's an homage to Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, which I'm a huge fan of. That movie is just so brutal. Great acting from Melissa throughout this whole thing. Now that shot of Melissa on the ground, that was shot, remember 2 months before this was shot. So I had to, you splice them all together. Why is Jason walking out of that closet door after he was just in the woods killing Steve? I have no idea. So don't ask. Don't ask too many questions. So this is great from Alyssa. Pulling the knife out of Melissa's head. Obviously, she's not there anymore. That was filmed 2 months ago, so she's pulling it out of nothing. Throwing it through Jason. We thought that's hilarious. That would be really funny. He pulls half of it out, then the other half. You see Alyssa's reaction, and she is out of there. Alyssa wanted to add some humor in this scene, so she picks up the pizza cutter right there. And then I say, yep, now we're going to go through these knives. This was all made up as we went along. We just went into the kitchen and thought, what could we do next? So she brings the meat cleaver out, wham, right into Jason's head. We accomplished this by taping a much smaller knife to his head, so you're supposed to believe the rest of that cleaver is in his head. When, in reality, there's nothing in his head. And with this cut right here, that's what you believe was pulled out, and that's it. It's really all old school effects, very practical, very old school, zero budget. You gotta remember that stuff. There's garland on the stairs, if you saw. It was like that greenery. Look at the Packanack Lodge sign up there. Jamie Sammons gave that to me for Christmas one year. So that's pretty cool to have that in there. That's there all the time. Sons of Anarchy lamp. So we wanted to accomplish that whole gag where the person looks up as if they are doing something. Really, she can't see him or anything, so what is she looking up for? But I wanted her to do that regardless. And the music that's playing right now is the exact same music that was playing when Jason was looking for Ginny when she was hiding under the bed when the rat peed. That's the same exact music. So while she's hiding and he's looking, we wanted the same music for when she's hiding and this one's looking. Haddonfield Memorial Hospital. I had to put all that stuff back out there, even though it was December. So Jason hears the door close. And then it might have been cool to have Jason in the window right there so you could see him looking at her walking. That might have been cool, but I didn't think about it at the time. That ground that she's walking on, that's all gone, believe it or not. The whole backyard is totally different. The deck looks different. Everything's gone. That's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre homage. We had a couch, so we threw her on a couch. And then he starts choking her. Then we get another point of view. This is supposed to sort of be like the Friday Part 4 when Jason grabs Tommy and they start hitting him and stuff. So here's Alex back. Why? Because we don't have a lot of people in this movie. And he's not exactly for sure dead, so let's put him back and do something. Here's my homage to Friday the 13th. Jason Takes Manhattan, give him the Julius line. And right now you got Part 8 music playing as well. This was shot a couple times. I don't know how I was not fearful for my life that Steve was going to actually hit me with that thing, because he's looking through a Jason mask and he's putting that thing really close to my face. Of course, we have no special effects, so those little drops right there, you're supposed to believe that those are coming out of the holes in my face. That's why they're coming out one drop at a time. I did that by pouring blood in a macaroni strainer that had holes in it, so it looked like holes out of my face. So there's the big finale scene. Why Alyssa goes in the shed in the backyard and just didn't run all the way down the highway, I have no idea. But she discovers Jody, and the only reason we shot that is because, we shot that. Oh yeah, by the way, it was freezing this day. Jody wanted to kill us. We had her in a coat. This was a very cold day. It was the middle of the night. We started 3.5 hours later than we were supposed to. We were supposed to start filming at 6 o'clock that day. But instead we started filming more around 10:30 or 11. So right now it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. And it's freezing in December. And everyone was cold. And that's one of the main reasons we don't have a big... That scene was pretty cool. Alyssa chopping into the camera. Then we go here. This was all done in one take. So we got a nice close-up of the carnage on Jason. Then he falls, and the mask literally just did that on the first take. So we basically just left it that way. Because now he's unmasked like he is in every movie. But it's so dark out, and we lit it so poorly on purpose that you can't really make out his face. Nor did we keep the camera on it long, because it's just a rubber mask. And you'd really be able to tell that if we actually gave a major effort in getting a good view of his face. So she says the line Paul says when they take the mask off Jason in part 2, just Jesus Christ or whatever. Then she goes, now, everyone says, well, you got this music playing, and for sure, because, we know Alex, we thought for sure that you'd have a big secondary jump scare like part 1, 2, and 3 and all that. And some people were disappointed that the movie just ended here. But again, we started so late that night that nobody had the energy to do this. I felt bad about asking Alyssa to film this right here. Most of her stuff was all filmed in order, because we're not smart enough to film this now, then we'll go back and do this. Even though we did do that for a lot of it. That was just on accident, though. I couldn't plan it that way. So we filmed it all pretty much in order, and this is the last thing we shot. So, the reason why he just doesn't jump out right now and do something is because by the time Steve got the siphon, or whatever that is called, in his neck and lands and everything, and by the time she did this, we were all spent. We were all done. Jody and Tiffany were done filming. They didn't want to do anything else. I didn't want to do anything. Steve didn't want to do anything. Alyssa was totally beat. And we just said, you know what, let's just end the movie there. Sometimes things end that way. It doesn't always have to be the Hollywood thing. So we were okay with the ending. But, I guess we could have done something. Like maybe even have Michael, as she turns the corner, Michael standing there. Because we do have a pretty cool Michael Myers outfit too. And it would have tied into Halloween. And that would have been a cool ending. If I thought of that at the time, I definitely would have done it. And unfortunately, I left Alyssa's name out of the end credits here. I don't know how I did that. I did the credits twice because I forgot somebody else's name. I think Jerry Vitetta's name, the guy who was barely in the movie. So when I went to do them all over again, because I lost the original editable stuff, I forgot to add Alyssa Henderson's name in the credits. But she is in the opening credits, thank God. So guys, that's it. I hope I filled you in on everything you wanted to know about the movie. I'm sure I could do this again and say a whole bunch of different stuff and still fill out the whole thing. But Hope this was enjoyable, and thanks for watching the first time and this time.